Last week, I was finally able to mod my updated version of Delfino Square into Mario Kart 8, and today I want to see how much I can improve it. The first thing I wanted to add was water. Right now, we've kinda just got the cold vacuum of space looming underneath the track, which is not accurate to Delfino Square. So I looked in the asset browser for water and found something called a water box. But after getting that set up and launching the game, we've already got a crash. So just to be safe, I got rid of the water box and launched the game. But that crashed too? So somehow, since last time, things aren't working anymore. I checked in on the leaf texture that was crashing things before to be sure that the fix I did there was saved, and it looked fine. Then I checked in on the lap paths and found a few that were for some reason not connected anymore, so I hooked those back up. I also got rid of most of the gravity paths and made the couple that were left not transform your kart anymore. Now the track runs again, and it doesn't randomly enter zero gravity. Now we can get to this episode's improvements. While it would be nice to add some water, I think the main thing is to get the track playing correctly. There are a good few surfaces in this track that act pretty funny.
Probably this isn't gonna work still, yeah. Whoa, something happened with the camera there.
Mario also doesn't know what to do after the race is over, since he's currently following my technicality of an enemy path. Also, the railing just isn't gonna cut it. I could probably sit here and list things that I need to fix about this track for an hour or two, so I think it's best to just go ahead with fixing immediate issues and work from there. The first thing I want to focus on is that janky collision map. Now, because I don't want this to be an open world survival crafting MMORPG, I'm gonna make it so that you can't drive between the beams of the railing. So I opened up Blender and realized that this wouldn't be as simple as I hoped, with the model being so ridiculously scaled up and all. I later learned that you can extend the end clipping in this view panel, but because I don't like following the rules or doing things the right way that doesn't cause unnecessary suffering later, I just scaled it down to 0.03 and hoped I'd remember to bring it up by 33.3 before exporting. Another thing I want to fix is this little ramp here, because it has a concrete material on it, which is a wall, not a road, so you just crash into it instead of ramping off. So I made a new material called Road Trick, because I want this to be a trickable ramp as well. Then I made some tiny adjustments to the drawbridge to hopefully make the angle a bit more gradual, which should fix the whole situation. That'll be good for now. Let's export this from Blender, import it into Track Studio, set up the physics materials again, and try it out. So it looks like the invisible wall between the beams did work, which makes the track more functional, but this doesn't look very good. And check it out, the shortcut works now. Most of it anyways. It's also trickable, which is pretty cool, but let's be honest, the real trick is on the poor soul who tries using this shortcut. So let's fix that. It looks like the gaps in the boards is what's causing the issue here, so I'm gonna really simplify the geometry. I also smoothed out that ramp angle a bit more. Then I went over to the railing to make it not look bad and weird. I decided on putting up a solid wall here that'll use the sign texture. Now we can fire up the game and see how this all works out. The signs look good enough, but the dock is still a little off. So I touched that up some more and re-imported everything, but I made the main road material trickable this time. That way you can do tricks on sections of the road that behave kinda like ramps. But of course, if you just look at this footage, everything I just said was a total lie and you can just trick anywhere you want. So I undid that. But the good thing is, the dock no longer protests Mario driving on it. Well, now that things are a little more in order, I'd like to add some fun decorations. I started by placing a tree from Animal Crossing Autumn in the forested park section. Now the colors don't really match, but I can make adjustments if this otherwise works and looks good. And there is a good chance that these won't work, so I made sure to go around placing like a million of these things, just to be safe. Cause then when it crashes I can go, what? They didn't work, but I placed so many, that's not fair. And Track Studio will have no other option but to be like, yeah, that's true, my bad, they work now. Spoiler alert, they didn't work. Spoiler alert too. Track Studio didn't care how upset I was. So I deleted all of them but left one, just to make sure it wasn't like a performance issue or something. But no, one tree was indeed enough to crash the game. So I pretty much gave up on the trees and tried making my water texture look a little better, which also crashed the game. So I threw in the towel on that one too. I am on a rampage. This felt like a good time to join a couple Mario Kart 8 modding Discord servers. The thing is, I was able to load this other tree without crashing, but not the Animal Crossing one for some reason. I also noticed that you can't really see anything in the park because the fence is way too tall, so I brought that down a good ways, which looks better, but still acts like a road since I must have accidentally selected metal road instead of metal wall. But there's a way to make this a lot easier and a lot more consistent. I can copy these hex codes for the physics materials in Track Studio and name the meshes after them in Blender. Then I can select materials by mesh when importing, and it'll do it all for me, except for the trickable sections, but whatever. Well, I guess I should probably figure out why I can't place stuff. I set down a leaf pile to see if that would work, since that's something else I want to do in this track. And the game did load fine, but I can't say the same for the leaf pile, so I asked the Track Studio Discord server for help. In the meantime, I set up a couple of piantas, which worked perfectly. I also fixed that glitchy staircase by making its collision map just a ramp. Well, fix is a strong word. I changed the glitchiness. And during this time, the Discord server had a short discussion about what was happening. I apparently need the PTCL file from Animal Crossing Autumn in my mod folder as well, since the leaf pile is found in that track and it uses its particle effects. Well, the particle effects are here, but not so much the leaf pile. So I checked back in with the Track Studio server, and they pretty much said that modding for the Wii U version kinda sucks, because you have to deal with DLC tracks being separated from the base game tracks. I tried replacing Animal Crossing Autumn itself instead of Mario Circuit, because maybe then the leaf pile would be loaded. But when I launch Animal Crossing, it gives me Animal Crossing Summer, because it's based on your real time. And I can't seem to change the date and time on Cemu, and it's clearly not using my computer's time, because I'm pretty sure that it's currently November, and that November is not summer. This kinda leaves me with no option but to change to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe instead. This didn't seem like it would be that difficult, so I got the Ryujinx Switch emulator and set out to procure means of playing Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which I of course did by lawfully extracting the games from my Nintendo Switch, winks under eye patch. Well, now that that's done, we can get the new mod folder set up. It took what felt like forever to get everything working properly, but now I have the delight of restarting everything in Track Studio. I thought I could speed up the lap paths part by just copying and pasting each axis of the transform over from the old lap paths, and that sucked and didn't work, and I was spawning under the map because I'm pretty sure I saved over the old map file right after making it, because when I reopened it, it was just the old one with the good lap paths and everything. At this point, this project was feeling a little less, oh yeah, and a little more. So I restarted everything again. After getting the materials back on, I scaled up the model by about 10% to give it some more room. Then I just manually placed all of the lap paths where I'm pretty sure they should be. Then I wasn't able to drive through the track because this emulator, like all emulators, hates when my controller just connects and works properly like it did 10 minutes ago. But it's at least nice to see it not crash. It does soft lock right here though, so I fixed where that lap path was messed up. I also adjusted some more of the textures. For some reason, I'm not getting that nice render state menu in this Switch version of the project. Instead, I have to find this little setting on each texture and switch it over. I also had to restart the engine every time I want to see stuff like that take effect. At this point, it was really feeling like everything was getting more and more finicky and difficult. All for what? A pile of leaves? But the truth is, I need to be able to place assets like that if I want this track to turn out well. But before attempting the leaves again, I had to fix some more textures and address those glitchy stairs. Instead of doing a straight up ramp this time, I selected the inside corners and brought them out a bit to soften the angles. Then I set down a leaf pile right in front of the start line and tried it out. Boom, leaf pile. Is there any way to play a combination of Switch and Wii U? So what if the leaves don't work perfectly yet? And I know what you're thinking, just use the PTCL file, but that makes the track never load for some reason. So I moved on to the trees and set a few of those next to the road, and the game did load those just fine. You know what that means? Those million trees are coming back. I placed plenty by the parkway and a good bit more after the drawbridge. I also finally put up a start gate banner between those posts. Then I messed with the colors of the leaves a bit in Photoshop to match those trees. I also applied the rest of the normal and specular maps in Track Studio. Also, yeah, I can't complete laps now for some reason. I thought it had something to do with the checkpoints at first, but I messed with those for a while. I don't think that's the case. Well, either way, that forested area kinda needs some work. Those tree cutout billboards look really terrible. I think they're just too close. So I got rid of most of the ones that were too close and filled it out with some more low poly trees. I wanted to put some higher detail trees in front of those, but I never really got to that. Then over to the grassy area after the bridge, where I got some leaf piles set up, as well as some apples and oranges on the ground surrounding the trees. And unfortunately, I think that's all we have time for this week. This is so much better than last week, although it still doesn't have water, and the leaf piles don't really work like real leaf piles do, neither do the fruits. But hey, it doesn't crash, and it looks pretty cool. I really want to thank the Track Studio Discord server for being patient with my many questions. Both the Mario Kart 8 modding Discord and the Track Studio Discord were really nice, so thank you. Part of me wants to spend the next 2 months working on this, and another part of me wants to immediately drop this and move on to something a little more snowy and December-y, wintry, Christmassy. But we've got another week before December, so I'll probably do one more week of modding on this before I move on. That's not to say I'll never return. It would be really cool to revisit this track periodically as I learn new things and improve it. Well, anyways, I really appreciate you watching. I'll talk to you later. Thanks.